Good morning, good morning, good morning. And I'm so glad you're able to be on the call today. Today is going to be talking about how the clock was created. The book that I'm finishing, working on, called The Clock, How to Communicate Effectively in an Uncommunicatable World. So let's talk about why there's a the book called The Clock. In 91, when I came back from being at the conference in Salt Lake City, I was giving scripts from that class. And I started calling people and I said, this doesn't work. It's not very effective. So I said, I need to write scripts. And I was writing scripts to get an appointment. So I sat down and I just started writing so that the next day when I called somebody, I said, good morning, this is Andrew Lacey, blah, 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 blah. And of course they said no. So I wrote another script. The next day I called and said, good morning, this is Andrew Lacey, blah, 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 blah. And in the next sentence, when they said no, I said, blah, 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 blah. And they said yes. And I did it the second time and the third time and the fourth time. And all of a sudden, I was getting appointments every day. And then another time, somebody goes, well, do you have someone? And I sat down that afternoon or that evening and I wrote down another script. So why was because there was not an effective way to get business by the way people had been doing it, not consistently. So why was the reason to have more appointments? And then I communicate effectively on a presentation. I sat down and wrote the greeting. And then I went out and practiced it. And it was really incredible. And it covered what I was coming out to do. That's communicating effectively. And then I'm not going to go into it, but I wrote the walkthrough and the presentation and then the close. All of it is in a script, and I feel that it's the most effective way to communicate with what I've written. See, that's why I did it. And actually, I just told you how I did it. I figured out what didn't work, and I quit saying that. And I started saying things that did work. That's how it came about, because I sat there and thought about it. You know, this past weekend, I had Friday, Saturday, Sunday by myself. Patty was at the beach. And I sat down and I wrote all weekend. I wrote songs that I'm going to write. I wrote a poem or two. I wrote 10 coaching calls. I wrote some of my book. And it was all because of sitting down and thinking. In the world today, as I say in the book, in the world today, we're so busy and so much is going on and it's coming on us at all times. We never have time to think. So when did the book actually come up? When I was in Atlanta, I was sharing how to communicate effectively. And one night I was in a hotel room and I was looking at, well, first chapter is Communicate Effectively. It wasn't a chapter at the time. And then I was trying to teach people to listen better, which I call Listen Completely, chapter 2. And then, you know, I was teaching agents to observe. Now, I've been teaching this for 10 years or more, close to full-time 10 years. I started in 96 speaking, but I spoke part-time from 96 to 2000. But in 2000, I started speaking full-time. But around 2010, I was in Atlanta. And then I told them the most important thing was to be calculative. And then I don't think I'd ever shared it, but I said, no matter what people say to you, always be kind. Don't argue back. Don't yell back. Don't, just say, I'm sorry you're having a bad day. And I said, kindness. So at that moment in Atlanta, Georgia, in a hotel room, I wrote down CLOCK, clock. And then I drew a circle and I put CLOCK, the acronym of how to communicate effectively. And then I said, well, this is how to communicate effectively in an uncommunicatable world, because at that time, the iPhone just started coming out. And I said, people aren't communicating effectively because they're texting and emailing instead of calling. So that's how the clock came about. So that's the why, and that's the where, and that's the how, and that's when it happened. You know, that program in Atlanta, there was a young man by the name of Dale Creviston. And Dale had come to a seminar in Spartanburg a year or two earlier. And he said, you know, he was the person that was not a believer. In fact, when I met him, I said, hi, I'm Andrew Lacey. Are you coming to my program? He said, yes, I am. And I said, I'm going to change your life. And he said to me later that he almost turned around, got back in the elevator, got into the parking garage, got in his car and drove back to Atlanta. Well, that would have been a bad thing. He made the right decision by staying, because he stayed there. And on the second day, or the first day, he had like 4 pages of questions. And I said, listen, I'll answer them at the end of the day. At the end of the day, he handed me his 4 pages of questions, and I threw them on the floor. And I said, I'll answer them tomorrow. But in the morning, do what I say, and then I'll answer your questions. He came into the program after that morning doing the exercise that I gave him. And he said, all those questions have been answered. You know, one thing he did say was, well, I'm a commercial agent. What should I say since I can't say, can I help you get your home sold? Magic script. Magic script. First one I ever wrote. Good morning, this is Andrew Lacey with Coldwell Banker Newton Realtors. Can I help you get your home sold? You know, the script that they had given me in California, Salt Lake City, was, when do you plan on moving? You know, people every day call me on my phone wanting to buy my houses and my land, hundreds of acres that I have. And they're asking the wrong questions because they're not communicating effectively. And I listen to them to think about, gosh, how sad it is that they call thousands of people and can't communicate effectively. And you call hundreds of people and have hundreds of closings. You know, the average agent last year had 47 point something, 48 closings per agent, if you've been with me a year or two. That's a little different. You know, so let me finish that with him. So he was there in Spartanburg, and a year or two later is when I was in Atlanta, and he said, that should be a book, when I put the clock up on the board there in the meeting room, when I showed it for the first time. I put it to the side. Now we're 20, 25, 15 years later, and I should be finished with the book in the next 30, 60, 90 days. And actually, it's going to be 10 times better, 20 times better, 30 times better than when I wrote in 2010 that acronym, the clock. How to communicate effectively in an uncommunicable world. And actually, on the cover, I'm going to have a clock, and then I'm going to have a flip phone there on the cover, down at the bottom. Because communicating effectively is talking to people. And today, more than ever, do I know this, and you know this, if you're in my program. You know this. But just the acronym to communicate effectively, listen completely, observe everything. Observe what's going on in your business, but see, I observe what's going on in the world to help you to be able to be better at your business.
Andrew.
Yes.
I have to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
But let me finish 1-2 statements and then interrupt me. Sound like Andrew Fleming. So that's good. I want you to interrupt me.
Okay.
But observe everything that's going on in your, a lot of times the things that's going on around you is keeping you from being great. A lot of times you observe what's going on in the world, you can be preemptive when you go see someone to tell them what they need to do, suggest what they need to do. And that makes me think of a story if I have time at the end. And then, but be calculative, the C, C-L-O-C, be calculative in what you're going to say. And this is what the majority of the world never is calculative. They're emotional in what they say. They're not calculative in what they say. And last but not least, always show kindness. It did not matter what somebody did. If they decided they're not going to do business with me, I was polite to them. I didn't say, hey, you're not very smart if you don't do business with me. I say, well, I wish you nothing but the best. And if there's anything I can do, please call me. The clock. Angie, I think you were going to say something. Good morning.
Good morning. So I just wanted to tell you I'm a genius.
You're a genius.
I'm a genius.
I'm glad to hear that.
I called you, I'm a genius because I called you this morning, who is also my genius coach. We went to see a FISBO last week and they wanted to think about it for a few minutes, for a couple days. And so I called you this morning and I said, okay, I went to see her on Thursday. What do I say today? And you said, call her today and say, hey, did you get that home sold?
Wait. No scripts.
No scripts.
Don't tell them the scripts. Go blah, 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 blah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
She said, nope. And I said, blah, blah,
Blah,
blah,
blah,
blah,
blah, blah,
blah. And she said, you know what? I am tired of this. Please just come out and help me get this home sold. Come today.
So by calling me this morning and letting me give you a couple of sentences, in fact, it was 2 sentences I gave you.
It was 2 sentences. Yes, sir.
See, that you are a genius because you called me first. So many times people make the mistake by doing something when I can always give. Alicia McVie, one of my favorite people in the world, told Mike Nicholas, the son of Jack Nicholson, and Todd Vance one day. They said, "Why would you hire him after you've bought millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of property when she was with Pulte?" And she said, "One reason I hired him. No matter what sentence you have, he always has a better one." And so that's what I gave you this morning. I gave you a sentence that you called them, didn't annoy her, didn't bother her, but called her and asked her a question and then made a statement. And now you have a new
listener.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we also went on one last week, and I've heard this so many times and I'm not going to say it, but I've heard it so many times from you and in the seminars about the sitting at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
And we left. I'm not going to say that.
Is this when they're not going to list with you, and this is when they say, "Well, we're not sure what we're going to do, or we're going to wait"? And is that when you use that sentence? Like,
yes,
are you going to? Does it start with, "Are you going to"?
Yes, sir.
I know that sentence. I wrote it.
You did. And Tex and I left, and they came to the car and said, "I have one more question." And I said, "Okay, what's your question? Can you come back in and let's get started?" But it was because of that one sentence, and also Tex said he was being funny as well. But yes,
But when you said that sentence, did they laugh?
they did. We
When
all
you get
laughed.
somebody to laugh, it kind of breaks the ice. It breaks that barrier. You don't want to go out there and be funny. You want to go out there and be business. But there's always that moment that you can say something that kind of lightens everything, makes everything feel more comfortable with you. That's being calculative right there. Sometimes you don't want to do that. You don't want to say that funny statement because, he's uptight or they're mad or they're sad. That's not the time to use that. So that's being calculative. Well, congratulations. That's 2 listings in the last 7 days then.
Yes, sir. Thank
Who
you.
told you could do that a couple of years ago?
You did.
That guy is a genius.
Yes,
Let
sir.
me see, can I get it off my forehead? Is it gone? I'm joking. Anybody else would like to share something since she came in and chimed in? Anybody would like to share something that I gave them one time because of communicating effectively? You got somebody to do something that normally you couldn't have got them to do. But that gets me back to one time, and I'll give you these scripts. I'll give you this script. So when the market crashed in 08, Diane Bryant was in coaching at the time. She hadn't just been in a very short time. And she went out to a house that was on Peachtree, I think. Yeah, there's more than one Peachtree in Atlanta. And this is a very important story. And it was on the market for $1.2 million. And she went out there and she called me and she said, "Well, it's only worth $1 million. And what should I tell him?" So I'll share this script. So I said, "Diane, when you go out there," I don't know if this was the time she went out there or she called him back. But when she sat down at the table, he said, "Well, I got to have $1 million too." And here was the magic sentence. She said, whoever his name was, last year, I could have sold your house for $1.2 million. But this year, I can only sell it for $1 million. That's all it's going to bring. You told me when I came in, I could be totally upfront with you. So I don't care what anybody else is telling you, it's only going to sell for $1 million. But if a year from now, it goes down to 800,000, would you wish you'd have sold it today for $1 million? And the guy said yes. And she put it on the market. It had 2 showings during the week, and both people were going to go back and show it. And she called me again. And I called her. When she called me, I said, call each agent and say, thank you for showing the house. But I just want to share something with you, that there's somebody else interested. Blah, 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 blah. She received 2 offers. Both parties wrote an offer up on the property from those scripts. See, that's the difference in the world today of being an effective communicator. It had nothing to do with an email, had nothing to do, this is communicating effectively. To me, communicating effectively is more important than what your office looks like, more important than what your website looks like, more important than what kind of car you drive, more important than anything else. Being able to communicate effectively covers a lot of weaknesses of other areas of your business. And it will change your business forever if you learn how to communicate effectively. And let me just say this, it's the words you say, but it's the tonality you have. And if you watch my YouTube videos, if you'll watch my face and that face I have when I'm talking to that person, and that sincerity I have when I'm talking to that person, and when I get there, that emotion I have when I get there, and the gestures I make, but the tonality that I have, the sincerity I have, the concern that I have. See, when you leave a message, can they hear concern, excitement, happiness, joy? Not all of them at one time. Just like when I can't reach somebody on the phone, the script that I have, when I leave that message, it's like I'm concerned about you. When I leave that message after I sold the house, that joy that I have, and I want to bring that joy to you and your family. And that excitement that I have when the market's getting ready to pop here pretty soon. See, emotions go so long with how to communicate effectively. But see, if you can communicate effectively, it means you have mastered your scripts. And if you've mastered your scripts, then you can listen chapter 2 completely. And if you've mastered your scripts and you can listen completely, then you can observe better the people that you're in front of. If you're trying to think about what you're saying, you're not going to observe very much. Anybody else before we go? No one else? Well, would that be? Yes?
I used words today to get an appointment.
Congratulations. So you said, good morning, this is Marina Arp in Palm Beach Gardens, blah, 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 blah.
Yes, he said he was getting photos taken, and I said and he said yes, and I'm going at 3. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Well, the scripts that I'm talking about, when I started in 91, when I changed my life and went from less than 50,000 to over $1 million 4 years later, it was all because of what I sat down and started thinking, what would be the most effective way? What would be the best thing to say to do business with a total stranger? But I have scripts that are past customers. Yep. I have a script for past customers that I have not talked to in years. And then I have a script for every other month to give them. I had somebody last week that went to see somebody, but not going to do anything till March. And he goes, well, what do I do? How often do I call them? So I gave him the plan, how often to call them and what to say to them in September, what to say to them in October, what to say to them in November, what to say to them in December, what to say to them after the first of the year, what to say to them in February. And we will have a new listing, $1 million listing in March, just by calling them 6 times over the next 6 months. 7 months, excuse me. Anyone else? I didn't know y'all were so shy.
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, it's Tyrese. I used the pop in the market script this morning,
Don't be
and with
telling
somebody I
people
was
my scripts.
up,
Blah, 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 blah.
blah 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 blah.
And what
Right,
happened?
and I spoke to that person 3 times before that, and that specific word was the differentiator between me getting the appointment.
So you got an appointment today. What price?
765.
So 700,000, we'll say 700,000 times for classroom courses, 6%, that's 42,000. So you possibly made $22,000 this morning in one hour, right?
Yes, sir.
Congratulations. And congratulations on your year. I heard, I think, Daniel Jackson, was you going to say that something I've given you in the last 4 months?
Yes, sir. I just set 2 more appointments on Friday, and I'm going on both of them today.
Okay. And you can't wait to go out there?
Yes, sir. I'm headed there now, and I use your scripts to get them. So.
You use the scripts to get them, and you're going to use my presentation to get the listing.
Yes, I am.
Great. Anybody else? Congratulations. Good luck today on the 2 appointments today. Look at it. Last week you got 2 appointments from using the scripts, which is how to communicate effectively. Anybody else before we go?
Andrew, I can't figure out.
Go ahead, Diane. We hear you.
Oh, can you find me?
I'm not trying to find you. Can you? What did you want to say? You know, some people can sell houses, but they don't can keep talking. You were unmuted there. We could hear you. We don't have to necessarily see you.
Okay.
You understand I can't see you anyway if you did pop up since I'm blind. So
Yes, sir. Okay.
Asking me if I can find you is not probably a good question. That's probably not a good way to communicate effectively with me. Can you find me?
Thank you, Andrew.
That's okay.
Short I wanted to tell you that I've taken 4 listings in the last 10 days, and every time it's been, I just make sure that I'm letting them, I'm demonstrating to them that I'm absolutely positively sure of what I'm doing, that, and you told me that when I talked to the $1 million guy. You said you just got to look him in the eye and tell him that so that he can tell
blah,
what
blah,
they're
blah,
doing.
blah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you're on a $200,000 presentation or $2 million presentation. It matters how you say it, the way you say it, and when do you say certain sentences. A lot of people get them out of order. Just like prospecting in the morning, they get them in the order. When they get in the appointment, they're going to the first name. They're going to asking for the first name before they get the appointment. That's just out of order. So you've got to do on the presentation, you have to do it in a certain order to get the listing. Anybody else? Congratulations on your 4 listings in the last 7 days.
Thank you.
Marie Graziano here.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I am on my 8th best year ever in a row. And all of that is because of everything you've taught me. But of all the scripts, everything I've learned, and no one's mentioned about the life stuff, but you've helped me more. I have one of the best businesses around, but you've helped me more with my family and giving me little things to help communicate better with my children and my parents, my husband. And it's priceless.
You know, Marie, as you were speaking, I was just thinking of one time when your life changed 8 years ago, 9 years ago, 10 years ago, and you came and you and Diane both one time called me up in the middle of the day, the middle of the night, and said, "Oh, the birds are singing louder and the sky is bluer." Both of y'all said the exact same thing, and I told you were in Atlanta in a class, and I told you not to go home and be this happy because your family would want to put you in a mental institution because, they're going to think she's crazy to be this happy. She's crazy to be this excited. She's crazy. You got to tone it down a little bit. Well, that was on a Wednesday, Thursday. Saturday morning, you called me crying and said, what did you say your husband said?
My family wants to commit me.
Didn't I just tell you that was going to happen? I mean, I tell her on a Thursday, if you go home and you act like this, they're going to put you in a mental institution. And on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock, I'm sitting at the kitchen table that I'm sitting at this weekend, writing my coaching calls, writing songs, writing books. Isn't that amazing? I'm writing and I can't see. I just can't pick my pen up. I have to keep it going. If I stop, I got to go, oh man, well, I don't know where to stop. So I turn to another page. Turn the page. Some of y'all need to turn the page and do what I say. But she called me up and said, my husband wants to have me committed. I said, didn't I tell you that? I said, give me a little bit of time. Patty's shaking her head in the kitchen when I tell her. She says, why don't they listen to you? I said, they don't listen completely. They just listen partly, Patty. Ding, completely. Listen completely to me. So I called her up, I think after lunch, and I said, Marie, I want you to go get your husband when the kids are not around. Okay? Kids are not around. I want you to sit down. I want you to take him by his hand and say, this is the be calculative part and showing kindness. Dan, I love you. That you care so much about me that you're afraid that I'm going to be, that, you know, I'm going crazy, or that I need to be committed. But my excitement and my overjoyed how I am is I'm excited for you and our family and what I'm going to be able to do in supporting our family. And I just love you for how much you care, but I'm fine. I'm okay. You don't need to worry about me. And you called me back up and said,
I called you back up and said, all fixed.
all fixed. Being calculative, communicating effectively. Don't think if the kids have been running through the house, it wouldn't work. If she hadn't started with, Dan, I love how much you love me so much. You know, when I hung up with her that morning, I said, Marie, you and Dan and Patty and I need to go to dinner, and I'll take care of things. I'll take care of it. I'll talk to Dan. But then I hung up the phone and I started thinking, what can I say right now to Marie that can help her in the situation she's in to make things better? So do you ever sit down and think about what you're going to say and how you're going to say it and when you're going to say it and why you're going to say it and how you're going to say it? It's the how, what you say, when you say, and where you say it. See, I do the same thing just as I wrote the clock. I do the same thing in everything that I present. How I'm going to say it, why I'm going to say it, when I'm going to say it, and where I'm going to say it. Have I ever said anything to you that just completely melted or touched your heart or made you have a different understanding than you did? Well, it's because of that instance, I was using the clock to help you. The clock may be, no, the clock is the most powerful tool that you have, not just in business, but your entire life. Anybody else? Have a great day. Before we go, don't forget, I will be in Palm Beach, August the 20th and 21st. I'll be in Virginia the week or two after Labor Day. I may just do a 2-day there, not a complimentary. I'll be in Greenville, Spartanburg, the end of September, 1st of October. I'll be in Atlanta towards the end of October. I'm going to bring you treats, not tricks. A lot of people out there try to trick people into spending money, and it gives them no business. Well, it's a treat for me to share a program that not only has worked for me, but has worked for tens of thousands, if not 100,000 of agents. And in December, we'll be here in Spartanburg, December 3rd, for the end of year Christmas program and event and dinner that night. So go out and make it a great day and start thinking about how you can be more effective in communicating with everyone that will not only give you more business, but more life. If you need me, 864-595-7000. If you want to send me an email of any questions you may have from this call, send it to Andrew at andrewlaceytraining.com. And last but not least, my personal number is 864-909-1258. Do you know what I put in the back of my book? My phone number. My personal phone number to call me if I can help you. Listen, these people all called me, and that's why everything got better for them, or overcame things that they couldn't overcome, or helped them to have a better day. I hope each one of you have a great day. Hey, I'm going to make a YouTube today. Make sure you subscribe. I'm asking you, subscribe. But more importantly, after you subscribe, there's a notification button so that you will receive something from me each week, just like this is going to be put on my YouTube channel. But this in about 30 minutes, Austin, we're going to make a video, right? Mm-hmm. And, my videos always each week is either motivational or educational or entertaining. Ding, ding. It's going to be entertaining today, or something to think about. Have I given you something to think about today? I've given you something to think about that could change your life forever. So enjoy the video, and please share, because there's somebody out there every day that needs to be motivated or maybe educated or entertained, or give them something to think about. I thank you for your time, and I hope you have an incredible day. Let's make it the rest of this year incredible. Come see me soon. Bye-bye.